All right, for people who are joining this live stream, we are talking about code assistance tools for Wolfram language. And looks like we're starting off with Noah showing package editor formatter settings cell. So Noah, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share.
Okay.
So you can see the window with the two, the screen with the two windows, right?
Yep.
Yeah, great, okay. Yeah, so basically we've moved the code formatter palette into a docked cell that's a toolbar, underneath the script and package editor toolbars. And so basically, everything that was in that palette is now in these.
Sorry, could I just, could somebody, I see a message about, oh, okay, but, okay, no problem. All right. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Now I'm paying attention.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, so this was the functionality.
Could you repeat what you said? I'm really sorry. I was distracted by an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think in the last one of these meetings, so the format cell button was added to the package and script editor toolbars, and there was a separate palette for setting the.
Indeed. Right. Okay. So you were going to integrate these. So let's see the results.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. This is literally just the settings that we had last time, but in a little docked cell here.
Nice work, except I don't understand. Okay, so hold on. Open something up and let's see airiness do its thing.
Okay, let's make this bigger. So yeah, I mean, obviously, you can format the cell, and then you can use the airiness, make it super airy.
Is it obvious to people that those controls aren't self-operating and that they still need the format? In other words, that there's a sort of an OK button aspect of that thing that's above that ribbon, so to speak.
Right. So I think that was actually a bug. This should be, so it doesn't have continuous action, but when you let go of it, yeah, there we go. It should reformat.
Oh, I see. Okay, fine.
Yeah. And that's just the speed ups I can talk about next. It just takes a second. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine. Okay. Let's talk about the next. Okay. I love that airiness thing. I think that's great. I think people will understand that well. It's really nice. Okay. Indentation. I don't understand the alignment of the word indentation with that button and things like that.
Yeah, we went back and forth on this in the group quite a bit. Basically, you can change. So this is the indentation character, right? And so it can either be a tab or it can be a certain number of spaces.
Oh, I didn't understand that at all.
Okay.
I didn't understand that at all. I couldn't read that. I mean, if it had a colon after the word indentation, it would help me.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it was unclear that this is essentially like a heading.
Yes, it was completely unclear. I couldn't read that.
Okay.
Okay. So what I think if you say airiness colon indentation colon, that would help this a lot.
Yeah.
And then I think I would understand it. I just couldn't read it.
Okay.
And then, okay, so then that one is, can you hold the pull down, which says the 4 pull down?
Yeah. So you have a discrete list of options there.
As opposed to just having tabs and and 2 space, 4 spaces, 6 spaces, 8 spaces, all as a pull down. Why not do that? I mean, why not just say airiness that, and then indentation, and then it's a single pull down that just says tabs, and as you pull it down, it says tabs, 2 spaces, 4 spaces, etc.
Sure. Okay.
And that way, you might be able to avoid the colonism. So to speak.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. All the controls will be a bit more consistent. Yeah. Okay.
In an ideal world, we would also change or have the width of the tab be configurable, and I think after 12.2 we probably should. It's just a little late to do some of this.
Okay, fine. But then that can be part of that pull down.
Oh, having an input field in the pull down?
No, there's no input field. We're not going to have people with 13 spaces for their tabs. It doesn't matter.
Well, what configurable then? I mean, what do you mean by?
Well, when you render a tab, how many spaces are you rendering it as?
What is the effective width of a tab?
Oh, well, we're talking. Okay. Sorry. Right.
Okay, so it just should say
question,
tabs
yeah.
showing as 4 spaces, tabs showing as 8 spaces. And then it should just say 8 literal spaces after that in the pull down.
Yeah. I mean, the front end, I believe there might be, hidden options to control
No,
that.
it's not there yet. We don't need to talk about it.
Yeah,
It's not there
Brenton,
yet.
I just said this, that's something that we should do post 12.2.
Well,
Right.
no, but I'm just saying, I don't think that, I mean, is this even related to formatting though?
Yes.
Well,
For this purpose.
I don't understand your question, because it's exactly the sort of thing you would be able to configure in any other editor.
Right. But we should put this in the future. We're not ready for it yet. The design that we've just described has extensibility for that. Noah, do you agree? Is there any issue with this?
No, not at all. We just put a delimiter in the drop down, and you'd have your tab widths and you'd have your literal spaces.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. What is the reparse button?
A hedge, a thing that is needed. So it takes.
Okay,
It
I
takes
get
a little
it.
bit of-
Okay, it's a slight hackery thing, and we need it for right now.
Well, I think we're always going to need it.
Okay. Reparse boxes before formatting. That is pretty incomprehensible. Can you tell me in words of, what is the, I mean, I can decode what that means, but why don't you tell me, for a user, why do they care?
Because the boxes that they're currently formatting in, whatever notebook or package that they have open, the boxes might not be the source that they think it is. And the boxes themselves might be wrong according to their expectations that, that need reparsed. It's possible, you can unformat cells and retype them and screw up precedences of operators and things so that the boxes visually, the code looks the same, but now all the precedents, the boxes are now they're not the same structure as before. And I don't know where it happens. I don't know if it's even front end bugs versus people, manually typing things in, but I've in the course of my testing, various .m files and notebooks and all sorts of things for this. It happens a lot in documentation notebooks and weird things where just
Okay. Gremlins are coming and changing the underlying expression representation of boxes. And what you're saying here is you want to reparse these things so that they are recanonicalized, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so next point is that the thing you've described should be communicated to QA because it's potentially bugs. Am I making sense?
Potentially, except we don't know where the boxes came from.
I don't care. Please just communicate what you just told me. Communicate it to QA, let them create some tests and see whether they can find such, box modification going on. Fair?
Yep.
Okay, so with respect to this, I think that description is incomprehensible. Okay, so
I mean, kind of my own view here has been if it's really needed, then why not just always have it on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a speed hit is the problem too.
How significant?
Well, I mean, I don't have. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the.
Find the information. I mean, I think that this is more of a.
I mean, I would say if it's typically 10%, then we'll just eat it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
If it's typically 50%, then we should talk.
Yeah. It's not the bottleneck currently. I can say that for sure.
Then let's not have that option. Let's have it by for this version. Let's just do it and don't option it.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yep.
And later on, if we, I mean, I think the option would be, I think it should be under advanced, and I don't know what other advanced things we'll have, but this will be something which says under advanced, there'd be a sort of additional opener thing. It would say something like, do not, I would say a checkbox for the case that you don't usually do. That is something like, do not reparse underlying box expressions. You know, something like do not reparse and canonicalize underlying box expressions. Okay, that would be my suggestion for what it would say in the advanced thing.
Yep. And we can there will definitely be more advanced settings in the future too that would necessitate that menu anyway.
Fine, then let's plan on that. Noah, makes sense to you?
Yep.
I like this ribbon very much. It's good stuff. Okay, any more to see here?
Okay, I have just a question or two. The slider is, so it's active, right? Once you drag it and let it go, it formats. Should these be as well?
Why not?
Everything then? Okay.
I don't see why not. I think it should be consistent.
Yeah, it's confusing if it's different.
Okay.
So in other words, as soon as you select, it does its thing. I don't know what other action would cause it to do its thing. Otherwise, there. In other words, if you reset the space count, show it again. In this case, set it to spaces.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then set it to 2, for example. Now, oh, you have to do that. Incomprehensible. Okay. Don't make people do that.
Okay.
I would never guess that.
Cool. Okay, that was all I wanted to ask.
Okay.
So because we have this and Noah has, done a really good job speeding all this up and actually having this deliverable, I'm wondering if the palette is completely obviated now.
How do you even get to the palette?
Oh, it's good. Okay, I think the text resources are broken. Yeah, okay.
Well, that's fine. I mean, it was just showing the same thing that we have in the cell now.
I think the palette is obsolete.
Yeah. Well, but in regular notebooks with input cells.
I see.
So I don't know what people think.
Well, what I would do, there's no way of letting people get a Noah-style ribbon in a regular notebook on request, is there?
What's the request?
Something in the menu.
John, I guess there could be.
In the window menu, for example. Enable, just like we can say,
not for 12.2.
Okay. But so the toolbar, that menu.
I mean, yes, if we want to do this, we could figure out something, but we're
okay,
really close to closing the door on 12.2. So.
Then what I would recommend. Let me see the menu that you have right now in the palettes thing. I think we're going to have to, because of timing, we're going to have this in as a standalone palette.
Yes, I mean in 12.2, that's fine. I just mean, so even after 12.2, what people would be thinking.
No, I think the answer is what we do after 12.2 is before we have the full generic toolbar, what we do is under the window menu, when you say toolbars, which right now, that's obviously going in deep modernization. That is going to be when Noah, hopefully, delivers the generic notebook toolbar, all of these things which are selectable toolbars here will have some different mechanism, right?
Yep.
Okay. There's a question from Ride on our live stream. Are you able to enter a value for the slider as you can for labeled sliders? For the airiness, I don't think you want that. I think airiness is too complicated a concept. And I just think, I like airiness 7.2 is not going to be a thing yet.
Also, these aren't uniformly distributed. They appear to be uniformly distributed, but they're actually not underneath. So
okay, fine.
The value is somewhat unintuitive, as you say.
Right. I think it's not. I think it's one of these things where it's like if you if you see it and you like it, be happy. But it's not a precision. It's too much stuff is bundled into that number right now.
And I'm saying the caveat now, and the number might change in the future. I'm
quite
holding
okay.
that, in my
Okay, all right. So Noah, in terms of that standalone code formatting palette, if there's anything you need to do to clean that up, you should do it. But I think we should have it for this version.
Okay, and so can I just confirm, if we're having this palette, are we also having this or no?
Which? Absolutely. Your beautiful ribbon? Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Right, but the whole point is the palette is for the use case of dealing with a regular notebook.
No, I understand. Yeah, I understand. I just didn't know if you wanted parity between this and this. Yeah.
No, I think it's a hack right now.
Okay.
I mean, we've got, the palette is the escape valve for dealing with this functionality in non-script notebooks.
Yeah, okay.
Non-packaged notebooks. Okay, is there any implementation of what you're showing here in the cloud?
Not that I'm aware of, Brenton.
Okay, can we open communications with the cloud team to see what we can do for that? I mean, they don't have a package editor story yet, but they're building one.
Right.
Okay. So just tell Jan, brief Jan on this and let him figure out what to do with it. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Right. What's next?
Right. So in the last meeting also, I mean, I can share.
Brenton, please share.
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second. Yep. Yep. I have a terribly messy desktop right now, but so I wanted to talk. So in the last meeting, we were talking about how slow the code formatter was.
Yes.
And, move, especially visible through, moving the airiness slider back and forth.
Oh, yeah. Have you solved the problem?
Like there were two big problems, and I solved the first one. And I can talk about them if we care, but I can also just
one sentence summary of what was slow.
I was doing work that the front end had already done, so
okay, all right, fine.
I just let the front end do the work.
Thing that is still slow. What is it?
So I need to associate all the little boxes with their positions in the the overarching box structure that came from the front end. And doing that recursively is what I'm doing currently, and that's slow. And what I'm reorganizing things to do is to just have one single map indexed call for the entire tree structure once, for everything. And then, and that will be much, much, much faster.
Okay, so hold on. The issue is you've got a DOM part, so to speak, a piece of the notebook.
Yeah.
It needs to know, I mean, map indexed is just going to give you its part numbering.
That's all I need. That's what I'm using though. Yep. So, I mean, I'm just working through that.
Right.
The problem is that I can't do the entire tree naively because, there are these edge cases of when something's not just a row box, but a graphics box or some other, more complicated box. I do not want to descend into those because those are now, they might be, the boxes might have weird attributes and all these things that I don't want to descend into. And so if it's only purely row boxes, then yes, this is the great thing to do, the fast, easy thing to do. So
I don't understand. Doesn't the front end have all kinds of tagging for these structures? John, even though I'm trying to avoid John being...
Yeah. You're talking about like the tagging we use for debugging, for example?
Maybe.
So the debugging tags are not sufficient. They're not kind of universally enough placed, and they don't deal with the concrete syntax, which is sometimes what Brenton needs to deal with.
But it's, I mean, it's fine. Map indexed, it's exactly what I need though. And this is, it's just needing to separate out the two cases and yeah, just reorganizing the code. So,
and by the way, this comes back to, what we discussed, a couple meetings ago in terms of being able to take the part numbers that Brenton is generating and map them back into the front end onto its boxes.
Exactly. Yep. So yep.
Okay. Well, okay. So I'm not sure I have anything to contribute to this, but it's just
no, yeah, and I'm in the middle of it. But I mean, that's the plan, and it'll be much speedier, much
good. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Let's continue. What's next?
Well, if we don't want to bother John, I'm not sure. But
but I want to know what's happening with your whole code assistance system. I mean, I haven't heard about that for more than a month. So, I mean, the whole thing with code suggestions, all that kind of stuff. Where are we at with that?
So, in terms of the front end support, I had hoped to get at least the thin edge of the wedge of something that would enable some prototyping, but that ended up not happening as a result of all of the last minute push for 12.2. So
but Brenton, you must have a bunch of things that you've developed, because I mean, there's tons of stuff we've talked about, right? All of your linting tools, all of the stuff about bracket matching and so on. Show us where you're at with that.
Well, where are you asking me to show that, in the front end or in like Sublime or VS Code or something?
Well, any of the above, but I would like to see it. I want to see progress, and I want to understand what you've got. Like, there's machine learning stuff, there's the rules stuff, there's what does the linter actually do? You had a testbed version of the linter, right? Show us that, even though it hasn't been integrated yet. How has that been progressing?
Well, we've talked about this before. I mean, so I've been adding more rules, but I don't know if you're interested in just seeing more rules.
Well, yes, I'm interested in seeing the usability of it for large blocks of code, right? And we got to understand how to do that. I've been suggesting to you various rules to add.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, can you show it?
I can show it in something that's not the front end.
Yeah, well, what do you mean? I mean, you've got a test bed version of the front end that's not integrated.
Use like Sublime.
No, Brenton, you don't need to tell me that. That I'm saying to you, what I'm interested in seeing is the algorithmic part of how you are making suggestions for code, right? You can show that to me in whatever tool you want, but I thought you had a pretty nice test bed in the front end for doing that.
Well, there's there's nothing front end specific about any of this, because nothing.
I don't care. You can show it in a notebook. You can show it somewhere else if you have to show it somewhere else. But
well,
I'm
trying to correct your intuition about what exists.
Well, what I care about is you've got a big block of code. Take a big block of code. I can give you some blocks of code I've just been writing, and I want to see it. Give me suggestions about that code.
In the front end?
I don't care where I'm seeing it. I care about what the suggestions are, not where I'm seeing the suggestions made. I suggest seeing them in the front end because it's easier to do that. But if you have to show it to me in some other editor, so be it.
Well, no. So yeah, I mean, this is just purely the algorithmic part of this. That is current. This is divorced from whatever presentation that I've been working.
I know that. That's what I'm asking about. I'm asking about the algorithmic side of it. Like, for example, the bracket guesser. What is the state of the bracket guesser?
The same as several months ago. I mean, I don't know.
Why hasn't that made progress?
I think Timothy's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
So what's the story with that?
So the story was that I've retrained the network to do it, and I'm currently and the results weren't good, even though I did more code and so on. So I'm hunting the data, and but
so hold on.
basically.
I thought previously that we had a somewhat reasonable heuristic for deciding where okay, we got two different heuristics going around. One is the bracket ghosting heuristics. I don't know whether there's something further needed for those. John, maybe you can say something about that.
Oh, sorry. What was the question again?
No problem. I told you not to pay attention, so you're doing the right thing. The question was the heuristics for ghosting, for bracket ghosting, of which is the close bracket type thing, right? Where we had discussed,
right. So you've sorry, you are talking about the typing, or the auto matching when you're typing, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Okay. It's not clear to me what connection this has to Timothy's stuff.
Well, here's the point. Here's what I'm saying. What we had discussed previously is to provide for the machine learning group to provide you a trained network as a piece of C code that you could insert to be the thing that deals with the real-time, bracket ghosting.
Okay, I kind of remember that now. I do remember you discussing this. I will say that I don't have a lot of faith in that approach. I could be wrong. I will admit that I could be wrong, but I don't have a lot of faith in that approach. There are two significant issues in my mind. One is a predictability issue.
I know. I know. We all agree. Right.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, but not just whether or not it does a good job, but that it operates by some rules that can be intuited.
Okay, John, here's the thing. Here's the case that I think it's going to be useful. Okay, you've got a big block of code. You start editing inside the code. Right now, that code turns red and purple and green and I don't know what, right? Because it's complicated what it's got to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think whatever that does, if there is a machine learning heuristic that can be used that prevents the cascade of reddening, so to speak, it will be a good thing. You see what I'm saying? So it inserts a ghosted bracket and then doesn't spread the reddening. Right? And knowing how to do that, I don't know exactly. I don't know whether that can be done with a rule-based approach or whether that has to be a machine learning heuristic. I do not know. What I do know is that that is the goal.
Well, I believe that there are a comparatively safe set of rules which can cover a number of cases.
Great. Then that will be enough.
You will, once you see those cases, you will probably say, can we do more? And that's where we'll continue to go back and forth. But I do think there's a baseline that
I agree with you,
that a heuristic set of rules will safely cover.
All right, fine. I mean, so we're not, okay. So what Timothy is reporting is machine learning cannot magically match brackets.
Well,
is not
it worked. It worked quite good on snippets of code which are typically notebook code, the one-liners and things like that, and for more like package code, then it became Brenton. You're using the old network.
Yeah, that's not good.
This is not going anywhere. It's broken.
Yeah.
And to add code from the package and so on, things were more messy, and it wasn't actually working at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't understand what you're saying to me. You're saying
currently,
notebook, right? Because
I didn't succeed in extending to large blobs of code.
So you managed to do it for small fragments, but not for large blocks of code.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So, but Brenton, I mean, the big thing that we are counting on you delivering, after 12.2 is this, is the kind of linting type tools directly in the front end.
I'm not a front end developer. I'm not sure.
I know, Brenton. What we're asking for from you is what we have talked about for a year and a half.
That's unreasonable. You need to talk to John about front end features.
I'm not talking to you about that. I want to see your interface. Given a block of code, I need to see what you are saying should be indicated on that block of code. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
As a symbolic representation of what is the lint annotation of that block of code.
I mean, this is what's existed from day one of my stuff.
I know. So I'm saying I want to see how this is progressing and how we're getting towards actually deploying it.
It's not progressing at all.
Why not?
You need to ask John that.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is make sure if you have a way of generating a symbolic representation of what it is annotated in the code, right? Then there is a separate project which involves Noah and John or John's team to actually deploy it in the front end. And there is another project to deploy this in Sublime, etc. Am I correct or am I not correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's vaguely correct. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what's being asked right now. What else is needed from my end?
Progress.
No, I'm asking other people that are blocked by what I'm doing. What is needed on my end? Anything? If I'm the one that's not making any progress, then
okay, but so wait a second. Okay, can somebody explain? Devin, you're project managing this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so can you tell me what's going on?
Yeah, well, I think the state of this project is that Brenton has all of these tools that can be used in Sublime and Visual Studio Code.
Okay, so Brenton, on a day-to-day basis, Brenton is working on those tools. Is that true or not?
That's true. Yes.
Okay, so you are progressively adding rules and all that kind of thing. Is that correct, Brenton?
I mean, yes, and even more stuff. Sure, yeah.
Okay, but so what is the output? Okay, so you've got this output here. Okay, so then you have a deployment of this output through Sublime, for example, and you also need a deployment of this output through the cloud and through the front end. Is that correct?
If you say it's correct, it's correct.
But what do you mean? I mean, I don't understand. What are you saying? I mean, your project is about providing code assistance tools to people writing code. Yes? Now, people are going to write code in notebooks and they're going to write code in text editors. Your project is about supporting both of those cases. Am I correct?
In as far as those are both representations of code, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But I don't understand. You're saying you can't demo it in the front end because the hookup to the front end has not been done.
Correct.
Right. I know that. I'm saying you had 6 months ago, you had a pretty good test bed of what it could look like in the front end with squiggly red lines and all kinds of things like that.
Incorrect.
Whose was that code?
I mean, it was a graphical fake mock-up. If all you care about are the fake No.
I don't care about that. I care about this project actually getting done. Okay. And apparently there's been a disconnect here because something went wrong. So Devin, can you explain? I'm sorry?
Wiggly lines, whatever you just said, it was a pipe dream that has never existed.
Okay, well then that's inadequate. Then something went wrong with project management. Because as far as I'm concerned, being shown things where, we had agreed a year and a half ago that was going to get implemented.
Correct.
So Devin, what happened to it?
The front end side is in my queue.
Right, so it's far down in your queue. So you're not going to get to it. So you have to delegate it to somebody else.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Okay, well, explain.
So there were some, frankly, comparatively minor things like the implementation of the appropriate squiggly lines, which I could have prioritized, but I didn't bother because they're not useful by themselves. The big thing, which I was very worried about, was this issue of how we map Brenton's syntax tree to the front end syntax tree. And so this is the thing which we discussed I don't know how long ago it was, 6-8 weeks ago, something like that. You know, at which point, you know, I believe that problem, you know, I believe we have now a pretty good plan for solving that problem. And then it just comes down to implementing that plan. And that's, you know, as I said earlier, I'd hope to have something that, you know, people could begin building prototypes on top of before 12.2, and it just didn't quite make it.
That isn't in our list of top priority front-end projects, so it needs to be added.
Well, it's in my list.
Well, I understand, but it is not in the list that I'm, you know, we know what our top priorities for right now are.
Well, we've had the, you know, the discussions you're talking about have been in the context of a particular kind of front-end project. And
oh yeah, fine. So this is a different one. So this is a, okay. So then what you're going to deliver is something that can take Brenton's symbolic representation and deploy it as something that one can see in the front end. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it basically enables Brenton to say, I have this thing in my tree I want to attach an annotation to. So now I want to get the front end handle for that thing. And from there on out, you can just do standard things like attach cells and that kind of thing to, you know, to be able to work with it. Okay. And then, as I said, there are a few smaller things that have been requested, which, you know, are not fundamentally hard. I just hadn't prioritized them because if I delivered them, they would be kind of useless by themselves.
Okay, so Brenton, your linting tools, how scalable are they? Can they work on large blocks of code?
Yes, the answer to everything you're asking about me is yes. Yes, yes. I'm waiting for everything else. It is scalable. There's nothing, I mean.
Okay, but Brenton, there clearly are rules. It's never been really tested in the wild with real users and so on. And I suspect that they're going to be.
What does that mean? Tons of developers use it every day. I don't know what you mean.
In what environment? In Workbench or what?
Yeah, well, no, there are other. Workbench is a whole separate.
Okay, so can you show me demo of the what you're talking about for Sublime or anything else, any other text editor?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, just opening up a random file that has to have a WL extension.
No, I don't want to see toy code. I want to see a big block of real code.
Then tell me, what do you?
Any piece of code, just read in any piece of code, any piece of .wl code from anywhere. A piece of code that fills the screen. Okay, great. No, yes, okay, that's fine. It's a little bit, okay, great.
And tell me, what do you want to see if you don't want to see this?
No, that's fine. It's just, I'm looking at this code. It's just, I'm asking whether it's typical code. It's fine. Okay, so now show me so this is running through the language server protocol. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so then what you're seeing here, some of the stuff, I mean, so what are those triangle-y things?
Well, we've talked about all this before, and you yelled at me for showing this, and I'm hesitant to even start explaining what ligatures are with these fonts that I've done. Do you actually want me to explain any of this?
Sure.
So a big part of our operators, I mean, it's the triangles are the association operators.
Oh, God, yes. Okay.
Sorry?
I said, oh, okay. And so the issue is you don't have a font character. You're putting those in as an alternative to a font character because this editor does not support our fonts. Is that right?
It supports our fonts. I didn't feel like importing them because as I want to continue, what is actually the font feature that I'm actually wanting to use here are the double square brackets that just require actually just saying open in the source code and then get treated as a single ligature in the font, which is a unique feature of the font stuff that I've worked on. All of this other stuff is, pretty common in other coding fonts, but this is unique because it is, I don't know if there's anyway, if I add other square brackets, you can see that they don't, they correctly ligate, they correctly ligate. So anyway.
Okay, just to show me, if you say there, if you do an open, say just plus, whatever, okay, go ahead. Yeah. No. Just show me, A, open bracket, open bracket.
Yep.
Okay, now show me one with a B and okay, now A triple open bracket.
Well,
Okay, no, what does it actually do is you type A and then you type open bracket and you type it again. Okay, now type it again. Now type, okay, that's beautiful. Right, great, wonderful. Now, why is association not working that way?
What do you mean?
Well, association is not represented in our language with triangles. It's represented with a different glyph.
Yeah, I could easily bring in hours. This is a tangent I don't feel like going down. Like, this is just the default glyph of a font that I'm using that's irrelevant for what would.
No, but I understand. But for actual users, that's very confusing.
The choice of this glyph is a decision that Brenton made. He can make a different decision.
Okay, but so you're proposing that we change the language so that association brackets are triangles.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so then why aren't we using a glyph that looks like association brackets?
We're not using anything. I am. Like John just said, Brenton has made a choice.
Okay, but what is the default? If somebody is using your tools in Sublime, what is the default choice that they get?
Yeah, I know. This was a mistake even having this. I didn't know. There. This is the default.
Okay, but then it doesn't ligate. So, correct. But it would be nice for users if it did ligate. Right? Why would users not want to ligate it? The only issue is it's weird to ligate to something that doesn't look like our usual font characters. But it is good to ligate to something that does look like our font character.
Well, there's also the issue of what actual fonts can we assume are available to.
Fine, which and the font control system is very different, presumably, for Sublime than it is. We have much less control there. Is that a true statement?
Well, it's just that it uses installed fonts. There's no. I mean,
I understand, but if you try and ligate to a character that isn't available, what does it do?
That's not an action. Ligating is not an action the user does.
Look, you just changed that configuration file. You had a configuration file, right, that specified what to do. What I'm saying is, if the best thing to have happen would be for the default configuration file when editing .wl files.
Not possible. No.
Okay. Why is it not possible?
That's changing the default font of a text editor that we don't control.
Okay, just walk me through this. Walk me through this.
I think the
company.
I think
Brenton, I'm not stupid. Come on, I understand what you're saying. Right?
You can't change the default font of another program. I don't understand.
I understand, but you can obviously, okay, so we have to think about how we're going to provide this to users, right? So an example of what we can do is we can say, here is a configuration file you could use if you had this font installed.
Yeah, I mean, something, but the phrase default font, we should stop using.
Okay, fine. So in a default font, we cannot provide ligatures. That's basically what you're saying, because we don't have the characters to ligate to. I understand that. That seems reasonable. Now, but we could do a trick where we ligate to a character that is available in other fonts, which doesn't look like the characters we normally use. I think that trick is a mistake. Although, if we want to tell people how to set things so it does that, fine. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So is there a workflow right now that talks about how, I mean, I don't even know how you set this up. Like, how does it configure itself with the language server protocol and all that kind of thing?
Well, the language server protocol is completely unrelated to all of this font stuff.
I understand that. But I'm asking you, if I have a raw deployment of Sublime and I open a .wl file, how does it find the relevant tools to be able to do the right syntax coloring for our language?
I mean, I thought we had talked about all of this before in the past. So by default, there's no understanding of Wolfram language in other text editors. So the very first thing you do Oh, well, and so a completely fresh install of Sublime doesn't even have LSP installed. And so you even
Okay,
have,
so is there a workflow that we have documented? So in other words, it requires users to do a certain amount of messing around. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, fine. Is that messing around documented in some workflow documentation?
It's becoming more documented, yes.
Okay. So with respect to every one of these text editors will no doubt have its own extension mechanism and its own way of invoking this stuff and so
Yeah.
on. Is there, I don't know the ecosystems of these text editors, but the best thing would be, I mean, for example, is it, I just don't know what the ecosystem looks like. I mean, whether there's a, package manager, single get function that you can run that will just magically do everything, or whether you're necessarily having to do 5 steps yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it depends on the editor. Yeah, some are easier than others, but I mean, there's an adjusting of expectations I feel is needed because like we don't control any of this. We can
Okay, Brenton, we deal with a lot of situations like this elsewhere, right? Where we're trying to install our stuff in an external environment, right? And it's a mess. It's a jungle. Everyone is different, right? But so each one, we have to, lovingly look at each one and figure out what is the best mechanism for us to get our stuff installed there. Right. And the least do-it-yourself kit. Go ahead.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's a long instruction list of things that you might want to do.
Okay.
And a lot of times things that you might want to do are a lot of things that are technically orthogonal from each other. You might want to set up LSP server.
All right. Okay. Fine. I get it. So there's no. Okay. So for each one, what we should be doing is making our workflow documentation for each of these editor environments, explaining step by step how you set it up.
Well, already, I'm not sure what you mean. If you mean from within Mathematica, because
no, I don't. I don't mean from within Wolfram language. I mean what you do. You are given an implementation of Sublime. Somebody says, "I've got a version of Sublime. I want to edit .wl files. What do I do?"
When you say workflow, I don't know if you mean generally or if you mean...
No. I mean our specific workflow documentation.
I have a very good idea of what you mean, Stephen, and I can work
do you know what I'm talking about, Brenton? The whole documentation, class of documentation items that are called workflows. Do you know what I'm talking about there?
That you view through Mathematica, yeah.
Well, on the web.
But they're also on the web.
They're on the web.
I'm just saying, if they're not inside of the package that we just installed here in Sublime, it's going to be a lot less.
No. The point is that there is a workflow somewhere, and if it's in product, it will be on the web. So it will be really easy to find that there is a workflow that says, I want to work with Wolfram language in Sublime. What do I do? And then there's a document that says, here's the recommended, 10 steps and what you can do as a result.
Well, what I can say is that we want to install a new package.
Could you stop sharing for a second? Let me show you something, and then I have to go.
Yep.
Stephen, I know exactly what you're looking for.
I'm just surprised that Brenton doesn't know this stuff.
My one question is,
to express is that having the stuff hosted on the web is not discoverable as easily from other text editors as you think it is, because we're obviously not typing this in. If you knew to go to reference.wolfram.com to begin with, yes, this is not a problem.
If you search on the web for how to set up Wolfram language with Sublime, that's what has to work.
I mean, reference.wolfram.com is highly SEO'd. It's, Brenton, you're acting like if it's on the web, no one will ever find it. That's not true.
What I'm trying to just...
Look, this is a typical example. Configure Ruby for external evaluate. That's a typical type of one of these workflows. Okay, that's the kind of thing I'm expecting one would say is configure Sublime to use Wolfram language tools.
Yeah, and it can exist, sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, and that definitely can and should exist.
Okay, fine. That's what we're talking about. All right, I have to go.
Stephen, the one question I'm trying to get in is I haven't worked with anyone in detail on workflow documentation. Is that Scott Fisher? Who is the best person for that?
I don't know, but you should not be in this loop. I mean, Brenton needs to work. This is not a place which it needs your specific time.
Yeah, this is for me and Brenton. We can talk about this with Scott and other documentation people.
Okay, terrific. All right, I have